Hey guys, good afternoon. Microphone is playing up, apologies for that. Not quite sure why it muted itself, but it did. So sorry about that. But I'm here guys. Let's see, we've got a few people. I can see we've got Tronics in chat. And I'm going to say this wrong, but Daj Pyov 6, not heard of Phoenix switches before. So Phoenix switches are the new Aristotle clones. These are them here in an Utemu housing. These are being provided by HB Heron Bob, if that decides to zoom in. There you go. So these have a very different mechanism for the clicking actuation. As you can see, when I press it, the actual click mechanism is inside the stem. It's not a click jacket. But they sound quite nice. They feel quite nice as well. They feel better than an MX Blue is how I described them the other day. So that's what we're going to be building with. So a Reddit post about those, didn't know they were called Phoenix switches. Neither did I until after I'd got them in my hand. HB Heron Bob, who's behind these, working with Utemu, was kind enough to send them to the Airbnb I was staying in Seattle. So I managed to pick these up the day before I set off home. Who else have we got? We've got Sushi Zen saying Phoenix switches, yes. Yeah, we're going to take a look at these and see what they sound like when they're on a full board. We've got Pusher saying hello as well. Ola, back to you. Fluffy was taken. What do you think about Nathan still going after like 30 hours or whatever he's on? Man, he is a madman. I could not stream for that long. I know that Brian and I are going to do a 24-hour stream, but there's going to be parts where it's just him, parts where it's just me, parts where we have guests. 30 hours straight is pretty intense, I've got to be honest. I'm not sure I'd enjoy streaming for that number of people as well. I mean, last time I looked, he had something like 2,000 viewers. I don't know what it's at now, but this was just after he started streaming, probably 3-4 hours in, and he had about 2,000 viewers. So, yeah. Who else have we got? We've got Necrowoman from mykeyboard.eu, the wonderful people there. Guys, do go check out Necrowoman and Necroman's store, mykeyboard.eu. If you are in the EU, they're probably the best proxy in the EU right now for a lot of key sets, keyboards. They sell all sorts of different things, lubricants, anything you need, you can get it there, and they're really nice people as well. I'm Karcher as well, saying heyo, lubed Helios, Tux Key and Mentally. Saying Keeb is cutie. Oh, the Shoko Keeb, yeah. The good thing about this board is, as well, is in fact, I'll show you another one because I don't want to lift the board up with the cables. I was lucky enough to pick up these caps here. These are the Seattle meetup caps. How cute are they? GMK double shot keycaps. So I'm not sure why I ended up with two. I remember only picking one up, and then when I got home there was another one in my pocket, so no idea where that came from. Intro feels like a news intro. Yeah, that's kind of half the point, given that the main show is a news show. That's kind of half the idea behind it. 159's there saying, hey boo, good to see you, man. I've got something that I'll be shipping out to you in the next few days, so it's behind me somewhere at the minute, which you might be able to see, but it'll be on its way shortly. How do they compare to Klippe? So these switches, and we'll talk about them a little bit later on, they're very well. They're based on the Aristotle design, which is a little bit different. We'll take one apart, and I'll show you guys towards the end of the stream. I'll take one apart and show you guys exactly how it works inside after we've built the board. They don't use a Klippe solution like the Jades or Navies do. They don't use a click jacket like the MX Blues do. It's a very different kind of thing. But we'll talk about it later on anyway. But they're better than an MX Blue. That's the easiest way to put it. Neat switches. Yeah, we covered that. Alchemist KB, evening. Jay, good evening. And subscribe with Twitch Prime as well. Subscribe for about 5 months and currently on a 1 month streak. Thank you, dude. Oh my god, those are adorable. Yeah, the caps are great, aren't they? Sophia Wolf as well. Doctor Unconscionable saying so cute. No, you. Love mykeyboard.eu necro rules. Yeah, the guys are great there. So I think next week's stream will be sponsored by them because I'll be using switches that they were kind enough to send me for the next week's build. But I haven't decided which board that is. It's probably going to be my Cerakoted Exent, which I might show you guys actually. So this is my Exent, and I've had it Cerakoted in this lovely orange colour. Excuse the fingerprints, it's covered in them. It does need a bit of a polish. And this kind of almost matches my Datsun car, apart from this isn't metallic and the car is, but the base orange is very, very similar. So really looking forward to building that next week. Holy crap, 159 with the 8,056 bits. 8,056 bits. Holy crap, man. That's huge. Thank you, dude. Thank you. I genuinely appreciate that. That is unbelievable. Thank you. Pilot XJ with the tier 1 sub as well. Subscribe for 6 months, saying good day all. Good day to you, sir, as well. Necrowoman with the heart. Oh, thank you. I heard you got 1,000 holy pandas, sorry, from drop. Is that true? Yeah, I was boxing them all up last night. They're not all mine. There was kind of like a mini group buy in the EU that Querdenker ran, so you guys might know him from the international kit. We used one of my US proxies, and he shipped them all to me because it was easy to get them to me. And then I've got stuff I need to send Querdenker anyway, so I'll be shipping it out to him with those. I've probably got about 500 here, just in bags. So these are the bags to ship still. I've shipped a load of them already, but yeah, there's quite a lot in there. Probably about 500 bags. That finish looks incredible. Yeah, the finish on the Exent is really good. I've got a couple of Cerakote boards. That's definitely the best. 159, love you guys. Love you too, man. Thank you very much for that, dude. Thank you. And I did watch the VOD of you catching up, and thank you for calling out my stabilizers, even though I did explain to you at the time the board had been sat on the shelf for 6 months. But yeah, fair enough. Fair comment. They were crap at the time. What a fantastic orange. Yeah, it's great. Those bits would have been like another 45 minutes in Nathan's stream. Yeah, poor guy. I do feel sorry for him, but I kind of don't at the same time. He's clearly enjoying himself, and he's clearly having a good time. I just couldn't stream for that long, guys. I really couldn't. Like, 2 hours is good. 4 hours on the news show is okay. Maybe 6 to 10 hours on a 24-hour stream, and do like 6 hours and then 6 hours later on or something like that. Chunk it up. But yeah, 30 hours in once. Yeah, not sure I could do that. Not sure I could do that. Plus, I like to be able to chat to you guys and talk about what's going on stream, talk about what I'm thinking about, how I'm doing stuff, and interact with you guys in chat as you ask questions. With that many viewers and that many people on the stream, the chat just goes nuts. You can't keep up with it, and it takes a little bit of way of what I love about streaming as well. So, you know, I think usually we're around 100, 110 for these build streams. Today it'll be significantly low because Nathan is streaming, but yeah, it's one of those things. Have a good time making money. Yeah, he is. Yeah, made enough money to make to buy a few Janes. Yeah, he probably has. I mean, you know, he's trying to turn this into a living, I guess, and he wants to make enough money. For me, the hobby's not about that. We've got very different aims. Not that either is right or wrong. We've just got different aims and different kind of views on that. As you know, Brian wants to make it full time on Top Clack. That's kind of not in my remit. I kind of want to stay working and do my day job as well. And streaming is just a fun hobby for me as an aside. Not going to be something that replaces my main source of income. But you're looking forward to the 24-hour stream? I am, because it's got a load of cool content. I just wouldn't want to do the whole 24 hours straight. That's just not something I'd want to do. Bundle it up, do 6 hours here, take 3 hour break, do another 6 hours, take a 3 hour break, do a few hours afterwards. That's perfectly fine. But yeah, to do 24 hours in one, that's a big ask. That's a big ask, and it's probably not something I would want to do at this stage. Maybe one day, you never know. Who knows? Maybe I'll change my mind at some point in the future. So with that out of the way, best of luck to Nathan. If he is still streaming at the end of this, we probably will raid him. I'll have to check how to do the commands, so we probably will raid him. But what we'll do now is just take a look at the board that we're going to be building today. So this is, and I'll try and pronounce this right because we've always pronounced it wrong on the show, but this is a Klippe, which is by Mechanisk. Leandrin was kind enough to send a few of these boards to Brian and I. We've given a couple of them away recently, and this one was mine to keep. Brian already had one, which is why I'm going to build it on stream today. So this is kind of a board, I guess, almost for review, based on the fact that we know that Leandrin's selling them at the minute, but also just for me to take a look at what the board's like, see how I think about it, and see what it's like to be built. One of the things I do plan on doing at some point with this board, if I keep it built up with these switches, is removing a couple of the pins in the middle, just because I feel it feels more consistent. So I probably will remove this pin here and this pin here as well, and I'll probably try and flush away these mount points on the sides as well. I'll probably just try and Dremel them smooth and get the flush against the back. It'll scuff up the inside of the case, but the outside of the case will be fine. But as you can see, it's in this lovely blue colour. This isn't available in the current run, but a better colour is the ultramarine colour is available, which pretty much matches Solarized Dark perfectly. On the back of the board, you've got a load of rubbish and dirt. Sorry, this did come back from Seattle with me, so I haven't had a chance to clean it yet. I'll clean it up after the stream. You've got the lovely logo here, if it decides to focus. Let's see if we can get that to focus. Come on. There we go. So you can see that it's got the lovely indented logo there. It's not something I'm going to try infilling, mainly because the you can see here that the bottom edge is kind of set back, so infill will be quite difficult on that. We'd have to hold it at an angle and it'd be kind of difficult to do. On the base of the board, just 4 bump on mount points, very, very simple, and then a low angle at the front. I think it's about 18mm at the front, and then here you go, that's the side profile as well, guys, so you can see it's got, I think it's a 7-degree typing angle. I might be slightly wrong, but I think it's a 7-degree typing angle. But the first thing to say is it's really hefty. This is a pretty chunky board. It's significantly heavier than something like a 5-degree or another tray mount case that I've had. So I'm excited to try it, see what it's like. The reason I've gone for clickies is because this is going to be really super firm, and you're going to have kind of like the challenge with tray mount is you tend to have different experience depending on where you press into type. So if you press that down here in the bottom corner, it's kind of softer because you've generally got no mount points to hold onto the board. Where this does make the exceptions, it's got these tiny little grooves that will hold the PCB and the plate assembly up, which should make it more consistent and more firm across the board. Once I remove these, I'll probably want a linear in there because there'll be some flexibility to the board, and realistically that's probably not going to be the greatest with clickies in my view. I think you want quite a firm bottom out for clickies, so that was why we're going with that. We will be putting minimal on this, that's the plan, but that does mean I need to take minimal off of the VEA, because that's on the VEA from when I took it to Seattle. So here you go, guys, this is GMK minimal on the VEA. So we'll be taking this key set off of here and putting it on here later on towards the end of the stream. Okay, in terms of the PCB, this is just a generic PCB from Taobao, so it's just, I think it's called the OK60, I think, in QMK. It's just a standard PCB, nothing special, but it will do the job that we need it to do perfectly. In terms of a plate, we're going to be using a POM plate here. So this is a POM 60% plate with ISO enter, 7U Sangam bottom row and split backspace. So that's how we're going to build it today. And as you can see, this is designed for tray mount case as well. And then the final thing we're going to do is we've got some sound dampening foam. This is from MK Ultra. So this is going to be placed into the bottom of the tray once we've built it. So that's all nicely aligned for the cutouts. We might just need to tweak it and chop it just for these 5 mount points just on the inside of the case that I showed you earlier on, because that's not accounted for in here, and this isn't, they're not standardized on this, they're standardized on this particular board, but you don't see the same ones on different boards. So we may just need to take the scalpel and tweak that as necessary. So that's the build, guys. That's what we're going to build today. That's the board we're going to put together, and there's just some screws there and some bump-ons as well that we'll pop on right at the very end. Let's catch up with chat, see what you guys have been talking about. I think he extended the group by so people can join after watching the build stream. Yes, he's closing it after the build stream today, so if you guys do want to join it, then feel free to. Dixie said that board is made for Hydro. Well, Hydro is one gym case I don't have, and I know I've sold a few bits and pieces recently, but it's one set I've never had. So yeah. Did Merlin give it an okay? I think that's what it's called. I did program one of these recently on stream, I think about 6-7 weeks ago, and I'm pretty sure it was called the OK60, so I should have a flash file already set up that I can put on it later on. Tronic says my package from MK Ultra is lost in transit. I'm sure it'll turn up, dude. And MK Ultra was a pretty nice guy at the meetup. We had a chat for a little bit. He gave me some tips on soldering and a few other bits and pieces. And he had some nice boards there with him as well, with and without sound dampening and with the same builds inside, so you could test them out and see what you thought. So yeah. Okay, guys. So without much further ado, we'll crack on with building the board. The first thing we'll do is get the PCB out. Just have a quick look at this. So I did test this just before I left for Seattle, so I tested it then as I was going to do a build stream whilst we were there, and I never got around to it. So the PCB should be just fine. Just to show you nice and up close, you can see that it's a matte black PCB, gold pins, a little bit of Swiss cheese, just because it supports so many different options on this row here. It supports 2 different staggers on here. You can have the 2U or the standard left shift or split left shift. So standard left shift and split left shift give you the same row here, but you can also have the 2U row, which kind of gives you an offset Z row effectively. So it offers that as well. A little bit of Swiss cheese around the base as well, because it offers a couple of different bottom row layouts. We're going to be going 1.5, 1, 1.57, 1.5, 1, 1.5. We're then going to be doing split backspace and ISO enter. And there we go. In terms of stabilizers, we just need 2 today. We need the 7U for the spacebar, which will go just there. And then we need a 2U for the ISO enter, which will go in just there. So those are the only 2 stabilizers we need today, but that's where we're going to start. Which reminds me, I need to grab some dielectric grease and a paintbrush. Just give me 1 second, guys. Okay. So in terms of the stabilizers, as always, we're going to clip these first of all. So taking the flush cutters that we always use, on the underside of the stabilizer, you will see that we've got 4 legs. We're going to cut this leg here that you can see has got a bump on the base. Then we're also going to cut this leg here in the opposite corner and remove those. And if you look at these from a side view, you can see that they do sit proud of the base, so they kind of stick out a little bit. What we're going to do is clip them so they're completely flush. So as simple as taking the flush cutters, popping them on the base where you want to snip, taking a leg off just like so. So as you can see, we took off this leg in the bottom corner. When it decides to focus. Come on, focus. There we go. So we took off this leg in the bottom corner, but we've made sure that that's nice and flush on the base. And now we just need to take this front leg off as well and do the same. So again, just taking the flush cutters at an angle and just snipping that leg. And there you go, you can see that that's now taking 2 of those legs off, and it's now sitting nice and flush on the base. Okay, so we're just going to quickly repeat that against on the other 3 inserts that we need. Slippery Pete with the tier 1 sub saying hello, subscribe for 4 months and currently on a 4-month streak. Thank you very much for we really appreciate that. Asley says dang, Shoko does look okay. Shoko looks great. It's one of the best sets of this year so far in my opinion, in terms of what's been delivered. I know it was technically run last year, so let's go by the year of delivery rather than the year of purchase. But big shout out to the MyKeyboard.eu peeps for shipping me this out as soon as it came into stock. I think it was day 1 when it came into stock they shipped mine out, which was very, very kind of them, so thank you very much for that, guys. Okay, so now those are all clipped, it's time to look at putting the stabilizers together and lubing them in the correct way. The first thing I'm going to do is just prep some dielectric grease. So I'm just going to fill the cap dielectric grease, just like so. Okay, and then the first thing we're going to do is just insert the sliders inside the housing. So this is the GMK stabilizer housing. As you can see on the front end, there is a curved part, which is where the wire clips into. And on one side of the insert, you'll see you've got 1 hole. On the other side, you've got 2 holes. Where you've got the 2 holes, you want to push that into that front side where the wire clip is. So you want 2 holes to this side. Okay, we're just going to line those up, get them all prepped and ready to put the stabilizer inserts in. Okay. MK Ultra said, who said package lost in transit? I can't remember who it was. Let me have a look back and see. I think it was Tronics. Oh, there you go. He's posted now. Yep, cool. Tronics. So there you go. But thank you very much, MK Ultra, for taking the time to speak to me. We've got HB Hero and Bob as well. I don't know how well the ice housings will work with the non-metal plate. Fingers crossed. Yeah, I sadly don't have a metal plate to try with this one. They should be okay. I was practicing around with them and holding them into the plate earlier on. I put it to one side now, and they seemed like they fit okay. So they were pretty secure in there. There doesn't seem to be too much flex, and given the fact that it's tray mount, the whole thing is going to be resting on the base of the PCB anyway, so all of the pressure is going to go through the PCB for the switch. There's not going to be any flexibility at the bottom taking the switch up and down effectively. You're just going to have it solid, and then the plate will be around the switch, so there shouldn't be too much movement. So it should be perfectly fine. The plate should just accentuate the sound. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is take some lube on the brush, quite generous, and we're just going to put quite a bit of lube on the wires here, making sure we get the wire all sides, fairly generous on this part, and come round the front of the loop as well. Okay, once that's in place, we're going to take our housing, we're going to push it into the base of the second hole inside the insert, and then we're going to clip it inside as well. Once we've done that, we're going to flip it around and we're going to move on to the next side, and then we're going to do exactly the same again. Nice generous amount of lube on your brush and on the stabilizer insert, making sure you get on the ends, coming around the corner as well. It can be a bit thin around the corner, it's just a sort of plastic rubbing. And then again, we're just going to push it into the base hole, the secondary hole, the bottommost hole, once inside the stabilizer insert, and then clip it into place. Rinse and repeat on the 2U stabilizer, and then once we've done this, we can lube the rest of the housing as well. So plenty of lube. You can do too much, so just make sure you're not going too much. It's easy to add more later on than it is to remove it. Okay. So MK Ultra's going to mail you. Excellent. Yeah, no, HB, I know you're Gezu. I know your usernames. I think I know all of your usernames by this point. But the POM won't crack. It's incredibly flexible. It's not stiff, rigid plastic. It's a very flexible plastic. So it will not crack. It's not like clipping into acrylic, where there can be issues, or other types of plastic. And I'll show you in a second. Meister in Seppo says he's freshly bathed and he smells wonderful. Okay, so now we've lubed the insides of the stabilizer wire. What we're going to do next is we're just going to take a small amount of lube on the brush. We're just going to put a light coating on the sliders of the stabilizer. I'm going to flip that around, do the same on the other side, and we're going to take a small blob on the end of the paintbrush straight into the back as well. That's just to make sure that there's plenty to run down the wire later on. Still plenty of lube on the brush, so I'm not going to add any more. I'm going to paint again on the slider, flip that over, again on the other side. Small blob into the back, and then the next thing we're going to do is just roll these over, make sure they're pushed through, and then we're going to take a piece about the size of a grain of rice just on each side and just coat the base as well. Again, easy to add more later on rather than take away, so always bear that in mind. We're then going to pop this straight into the board, try and keep it as mess free as possible. So it only goes in one place where the 7U wire fits, which is in that location there, so that's nice and in place now. Then I'm going to lube the second one. I've still got plenty of lube on my brush, so I'm just going to quickly paint on both sides. So paint on one side here, flip it over, paint on the other side there. Small blob into the back as always, just to make sure there's almost like a well. Paste on that side as well, and on there. Still plenty of lube on the brush, so just making sure it's a really thin coat. Okay, and then the final thing we're going to do, as before, just a rice-sized piece of lube just on the underside, on one side there, and then straight away on the other side here. And there we go, that's the lubing done. I'll just pop this into the board. This is for the ISO enter, so we're just going to pop this where it belongs, just here and here. We'll do if this one decides it's going to clip in. There we go. So that's now all in place. I'm just going to give my hands a quick wipe. Apologies for this, guys. Just want to make sure my hands are nice and clean. He smells wonderful. I bet, says Kakan. Rope's here as well, saying hello. Hello, Rope. Good to see you, my dude. Oh, we've got a fingerprint on here. We're just going to clean that up. There we go. Okay. Let's just before we screw these in, I'll just jump back to the plate. So I know that HB Bob, the guy behind the Utami switch, is worried about this cracking. This is highly flexible, so this is not going to crack when you put switches in. There is no worries about that. It's really a flexible plate, not like a stiff, crackable plastic. So I'm completely comfortable that that's going to be just fine. Okay, whilst that's drying, we're just going to flip this over, take our screwdriver, and then just screw these stabilizers in. There we go. Again, as always, guys, you're not trying to screw these in super tight. You just want to get them tight enough that they are going to hold in place. You're not trying to squish the PCB. You're not trying to crush anything. There we go. Someone should do a lip test. Meister Green Supper says, how have I been since Seattle? I've been good, man. The jet lag was much harder coming back from Seattle than it was going. There was a couple of meetings last week at work where I should probably not have been there because I was too tired. So I'm hoping to be back on my feet properly going back to work tomorrow. It's 8:37 PM now, so about 12 hours I'll be in the office. Okay, and then we're just going to pop the last screw in over here, and then we'll align the plate, make sure that everything looks okay. As I say, not going too tight, just tight enough to hold everything in place. So that's all looking really nice and flush with the PCB. Everything's looking good there. The stabilizer, this one looks like it's a little bit tight. Might just undo this one and redo it. The ISO one's looking okay. Might just have a look at this stabilizer. Looks like it's not quite seating correctly. Just going to undo it, make sure everything's working without the screws in, and then if it is, we'll re-fasten that back up. It seems like it's just catching a little bit, I'm not quite sure why. This could be the tolerance on the PCB, or it may even be the stabilizer wire, to be honest. Let's just take it out and see if we're getting the same issue here. Okay, no issues there. No issues there. One side in and see how we get on. it still feels alright. Oh, I'm going to put that in the wrong place. It still feels okay there. Just feels like it's catching there. Might just try changing these housings over if we're still getting the problem. Okay, seems better now. Let's try screwing that in. I think it was just a tolerance issue on the PCB, to be honest. It is a very, very cheap PCB. Sometimes that does lead to some issues. Okay, that should be okay now. Screw the second one in over on this side, and then we should be done installing the stabilizers. If there's any issues at this point, I'll probably just change out the housings and the wire and try it again. Yeah, see, that's really, really stiff. Just wonder if it's the wire that's the issue. Just feels like it's slightly too wide apart at the holes, and the wire's just a tiny bit thinner, and it's just stretching out the stabilizer. What's the difference between clipping and screwing? Screwing just tends to be a little bit more secure in the PCB. It's just one of those things that happen. Let me just grab a spare wire, guys. So I've got 2 more 7 new wires here. I'm just going to unclip this wire, and if it works afterwards, then we'll re-loop the wire and go from there. And if this doesn't work, we'll just change the housings as well. Actually, how's that feeling? Okay, that just feels like it's catching. And then outside of this, it feels just fine. Okay, so I don't think it's the wire. I think it's actually the PCB. So when I'm looking, this hole doesn't look particularly circular. Just try and widen that up a touch, see if that helps. Okay, that seems much better there. Let me just try screwing this in, we'll see. Yeah, you won't notice any difference in terms of stability. It's more about reliability, I think. So clip-in stabs have a tendency to pop out over time, or they can do. Okay, so that's feeling much better now. It doesn't feel perfect, but it feels much better. We'll try it with switching and see how that feels. Let's get some switches into the plate and try that. I am going to just add some more lubrication though to this this wire. We can get it to pop out. There we go. Okay. It's feeling much better than it was before. Okay, great. So now we've done the wires, we can move that to one side. Okay, so next thing to do is to pop the plate on and in place, make sure everything looks like it lines up correctly. So it looks all good from that perspective. We're going to pop a switch in for the spacebar first of all. So this is a stock spacebar switch, stock switch. It's not a particular weighting or anything else for the spacebar. It's completely stock. And then we'll come over here and we'll pop that switch in as well. Okay. Tempted to just grab a spacebar and try that out. Feels like it should be okay. Let's grab a spacebar and try that out. Need about a 70 spacebar. Yeah. Okay. So you can see here it's still not quite right. Oops. It's definitely binding on the stabilizer. You can see here if I press the switch down, it's definitely binding on the stabilizer. You can feel it wants to pop back up. Okay. Let's try just changing out the housings for this stabilizer as well. See if that remedies this. That's what I was thinking. Only stabs I'll ever try again is Zeal. Jesus Christ, the pop outs are horrible. The new Zeal stabs don't have pop out issues. I've used a few versions of the new ones. Yeah, there's never been any issues. It was the original round ones where they used to have pop outs. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to reuse this wire, but I'm going to actually change the entire stabs for the rest of it. So I'm just going to move these completely out of the way, and then we'll come back to later on. I'll just grab some more parts. And then if these still prove the problem, then it's definitely an issue with the PCB, and we'll just need to try to widen those holes and try and realign the stab. I think it's about 0.5 millimeter tight. I think that's the level of tolerance that we're experiencing issues with today. Right then, so let's try that again. I'm just going to cheat a touch here. Try and get plenty of lubricant back on this stem. Come on, go inside the housing. There we go. Is there a difference in terms of switch stability when it comes to if it's soldered or hot swap? Not really, no. I mean, I prefer to solder just for confidence and knowing it's soldered. That's kind of a personal preference, though. Many people use hot swap without issues. Before I just before I loop the rest of these, I'm just gonna try clipping these houses in and see if this is the issue fixed, or if we've still got the challenge. It'll help if I put this in the right way. Try this again, see if this one fits better. If it does, we'll Move it. No, so we're still getting the, I can still feel that it's going to start binding again. So it's definitely an issue with the PCB. Okay. So what I suspect that this is that this hole, this hole, this hole, and this hole are opposing slightly out of line. So this one I think wants to go this way just a tiny bit. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm just going to try and bore the hole slightly wider. Try and find something that just fits in each hole and just bore it a tiny bit wider. Just to try and move that across. Dremel time. Yeah, I wouldn't want to take a Dremel to it, but I don't want to try and take too much to it, but I just want to try and widen it out a little bit. I think it's the smaller hole just on the edge here. Okay. Let's see if that's taken enough material away. Try screwing it in first and see if that worked. I suspect it's just the stamp that's been on the PCB has probably caused a slight issue. Okay, so that does feel much better. Still feels like there's a little bit of restriction there. Let's try getting a switch and the spacebar back in. Okay, so we're getting return and actuation now. It is still sticking slightly. Yeah, so you can still make it stick if you press it too hard. I think it's definitely still the stabilizer that's the issue. Tried widening these holes. I'm going to try widening at this side now, see if that can make it any better. So have to be careful that it's not too near any of the components. The secret here, guys, is to just not buy cheap PCBs. Okay, let's try this. See, that's kind of how it should react. Okay. Much better. So there we go, guys. After a little bit of trial and error, we did determine that it was an issue with the stabilizer itself, sorry, with the PCB itself. We're just going to catch up on lubing these particular stabilizers now. I don't usually do this in the board, but again, it's a clicky board, so it's not too troublesome. Plenty of lube on this brush still. This is the OK60 slip repeat, so it's one of those things. It's not the stab wire. Just catch up with chat, sorry. Experience a bit of wobble anyway to get rid of that. You're always going to get some wobble. It depends on the switches. If you tell us about the switches, it might be easy to decide. Dremel time now. We didn't need Dremel. You can put films in as Kakan suggested. That sometimes helps. 159 saying it's a stab wire. Unfortunately, it's not the stab wire. I tried two. First one was the same. Second one seems better. So I think we're good now. What we're going to do from here is just pop the plate back on. Push the switches that were in place back in. And then we'll push the rest of the switches into the board as well. What's the thing with the PCB? So the PCB has a slight issue in the fact that the stab cutouts for the spacebar were not quite aligned with where they should be. So it was what was effectively happening is, if you think about the spacebar and it's this wide, and that's the length of your wire goes from here to here. What was actually happening is the holes in the PCB were just slightly to the right of where they should have been, which meant that the wire was being bent instead of it being at right angles to each other and joining across the middle. They were kind of tilted away from each other. So on the up and down stroke, it was causing a problem. But yeah. So what we've done is we've just widened the holes in the PCB in the PCB, and then that's enabled us to just move the stab wires over a fraction on either side, fraction of a millimeter, and now it seems fine. So we'll go ahead with it, and we'll try and fix later if we have any further issues, but we should be good from that perspective. The interesting thing is, this is the third of these PCBs that I've built. I bought 3 of them at the same time. The other 2 were just fine because they're actually in use in boards. In fact, one of them's in there, so it was not a problem at all. Okay, so just having a issue now with the plate. Just needs lifting up onto the switch. There we go. Okay, so the more switches we get in, the easier these flexible plates install. So we're just going to go slowly across the board, alternating which row we're on, and then we'll be fine. Talisman Solutions with the 1111 customary bits. Thank you very much, dude. Appreciate that. Yeah, the more switches we've got in, the more the plate becomes firmer, the more stable it becomes, the easier it becomes to get the remaining switches in. Okay. Can the foam that you're going to use touch the PCB without causing any issues? Yes, it can. It's perfectly fine to touch the PCB. If MK Ultra is still watching, he will be able to tell you specifically what the composition of the foam is. I can't recall from the top of my head. Oh, Talisman with the little wave emote thing. That's cute. Okay. Just going to fill in these gaps here now. I think it has got some neoprene in it. I'm not 100% certain. EVA foam, there you go. That's the type of foam it is. I couldn't recall off the top of my head which it was. As you might have seen as well, guys, we are going split right shift. Mainly that's because that's what this plate supports. But I do prefer split right shift as well, personally. And then we will be going 1.25U. Sorry, 1.5U, 1.5U across the here as well, because we'll be doing the Sangan layout. There we go. Again, big thanks to Gazoo or HB Heron Bob for sending these switches. It was very kind of him to let me try these out. As I say, they are definitely better than MX Blue. I vastly prefer these already to an MX Blue. I don't think it'd be fair to compare them to the Klippe bar switches because they're not trying to be a Klippe bar switch. I'm looking at this pile of switches, hoping I've got enough now. I should be. I'm sure he sent me 17. Yeah, MK Ultra. You feel free to post your link. He actually sells these foams Siva. So this is where it's come from. So he was the guy that cut this and sent it out to me as well. He did send me some other ones as well. Now, one I was considering using was this, which is designed to go between the PCB and the plate, which goes this way. But because I'm using clicky switches, I didn't want to dampen the sound of the click too much. But these are the same foams, and effectively these go between the PCB and the plate. If I do switch this build over to be a linear, though, I'll be putting that in place instead. Blackpink is the revolution, you know. Sure. Yeah, it's not a terrible set. It's a pretty nice set, to be honest with you. I kind of enjoy it. And it's got full ISO in there. These stems are engineering prototypes, only 200 made. Design is going to be modified slightly to reduce the chances of damaging the leaves. Okay, cool. I think most of these, when I had them in my switch tester earlier on, they were actuating just fine. I tested about 20 of them. So we should be okay from that perspective as well. Oops. I know there's not many to waste here, but hopefully I have one to take apart and show you guys how it works towards the end. And if I've got an MX Blue in the switch jar, I will compare the two mechanisms for you as well, so you guys can see the difference. But if you are in the market for a clicky, guys, you might want to consider these switches. I know Paul's got a pretty big order going in at the minute. I'll let you guys decide, stepped or full caps. What do you guys think? Just post and tell me. These are ice housings. Stepped says rope. Okay. Any votes for full? Always stepped. Yeah, I rarely build a board without steps, but no, these have got slots in, I believe. Oh no, they are no slot tops. Yeah, so there's no slot in them, so you have to install the LED under the housing if that's going to focus for me. There you go. Yes, these are no slot tops. I'm hoping you can just kind of see where it catches the light that you can't see my finger through it. There you go. Yeah, these are what he recommended. So everyone's saying steps, so I'm going to build it stepped. When I was talking to him about these, I basically said whatever you recommend the right housings for these stems is, that's what I'm going to go with, rather than picking and choosing from the Utami range. Always better to trust the experts on that one. Okay guys, so there we go. That's all of our switches in place. I'm just going to check and make sure everything's aligned correctly, make sure everything's pushed through into the PCB correctly. So we're looking all good from that perspective there. So I'm just going to check on the front angle as well. So as you can see, everything looks nice and flush with the PCB. Down the side as well. All across the top, and then down the far side too. That's all looking rather good. Next thing to do is just check, make sure we've not got any bent pins. I'm just going to go pin switch by switch, making sure I can see 2 pins for each one. Okay, all looking good so far. Okay, yeah, okay, looking good here. Just the spacebar one needs pushing down while we've got it. It's a little bit more flexible in the plate. Okay, so all looking good there. No bent pins. So I'm going to grab my trusty soldering iron. Now I just need my copper ball. I do apologise guys, I'm having to root around a lot today because most of my office is taken up with JO1s at the minute, so I've got 6 sat at the side of me just here, which is taking up the space that would usually be where I keep all my tools, so I do need to get these shipped out soon. Base case 01 says, oh cool, how was the assembly? So far so good. We're just going to solder it all together now, and then we'll pop it in the case, pop some keycaps on, and see what the board sounds like from there. In fact, why am I putting my solder away? That's not what I wanted to do. Not key related. If anyone's going to DEF CON next week, needs a room. There you go. Nice. Tensorung says, not 100% if there's a text thread for the set yet. I think it was redirecting to Sanctuary Rebirth last I checked. Is that for Blackpink? Blackpink had its own website. I think it was Jebra, I think. Okay. So everything's now up to temperature. I'm just going to solder a switch in each corner first. Okay. And we're just making sure that the board's all held together. Nothing's going to come loose if I shake it or knock it or move it around untoward at that point. That's all held together nicely now. I'm just going to do 2 in the middle and the spacebar as well, just to make sure we've not got any concerns. If I would just do 1 in the middle, that's enough to just hold it all in place. Now the spacebar, because there's a bit more of a flexible plate, we do need to push this one down to make sure it's firmly seated into the PCB. And there we go. Okay, now we're just going to go row by row. Carry the rest off. Talisman Solutions, it sounds like you want to go to DEF CON. So if you are, congratulations, you've now got a room to share with Her and Bob. Okay. Just going to go row by row now, guys, and solder these all through. About halfway through the first row now. Taking it steady away. Happy to be back in the land of Churchill among the proper English-speaking peoples. Oh, you're in the UK at the minute, Talisman. That's good to know. I didn't know you were visiting. But, oh, do you mean, am I better back? Is that what you're trying to say? Because I was in Seattle. Is that what you're trying to say? It's a question, I guess, rather than a statement. Yes. Yeah, I'm happy to be back. I really enjoyed Seattle, though. Of all the American cities I've visited, Seattle was probably the nicest. Just in terms of what I like. You can never trust anyone who prefers tea over coffee. Yeah, I prefer coffee. I'm not a big tea drinker. I tend to drink iced tea more than actual tea. But yeah, Seattle was great. It was a very interesting city. Lots and lots of people there. Lots and lots of really nice people there. It was quieter in some respects than I expected. The other cities I've been have been places like New York and Miami, other places in Florida. And it's the furthest west I've been in the US as well. So it was just a nice city, really nice place. Good coffee, good food, pleasant scenery across the Puget Sound. Yeah, it was just really nice. I could quite easily see myself going back there. And in fact, I probably will. I'll probably take the wife at some point because it was just really nice. Did you tour the city? I didn't get much chance to tour the city, to be honest. Because we were doing a lot of keyboard related stuff. There was kind of like an Airbnb, and I met up with a couple of people each day for meetings and things like that. So I met up with Langlandia, who's running GMK Cafe on the Thursday. When I arrived on the Wednesday, it was really late. And then on the Thursday afternoon, we moved into the Airbnb. On the Friday, we went out for lunch together and did a few things around around Seattle, and then Friday night we went out with Mike from Novel Keys and Andy from GMK Living Speed Bump, and a ton of people. Yambo and the Mastrop people were there as well. That was really good dinner. And then after dinner we went out for some drinks. Ended up back at our Airbnb, got slightly drunk. The Friday we went out for a great burger, Katsu Burger I think it was called. Oh no, sorry, no, that was a Friday. Sorry, we went out for Friday lunch for the Katsu Burger. Then Saturday was the day of the meetup. We got up late morning. I was up first, tidied up a little bit. I posted that now infamous picture of the meetup keyboard table on Insta and Reddit, and then from there we got ready, headed off to the meetup. Got there for about 1 o'clock. Met a ton of cool people. I spent time talking to Norbauer, to Dixie, to Mike, to Melissa from Signature Plastics, to Andy from GMK. Yeah, lots and lots of different people. All sorts of people. I met Neo Jonathan. He came up and said hello. Just tons and tons of people. I can't remember everyone's names. That's the challenge now. But it was a great day out. Got some free swag. T-shirts were really cool, as you saw on stream on Thursday. Brian and I were wearing matching T-shirts. Those were the meetup ones. So yeah, so I thoroughly enjoyed it. The temperature was good. The weather was great. So yeah, I would gladly go back. Take the wife next time. Okay. So almost done here on this row. I'll take a look and see what you guys are chatting about. See what we've got to. And then we'll finish off, do the last 2 rows. Then we'll put the foam in the keyboard. We'll put the build into the keyboard, and then we'll grab some keycaps which are on the VEA at the minute, or we'll take minimal off there. Take the other keys we need out of the case, and go from there. Love that dismissive F off. No, I'm not dismissive. Enthusiasm is for the Blink set, not so much DEF CON, although I'm sure that's going to be fine as well. Okay. Well, it sounds like your host kept you busy and entertained. Yeah, it was a really busy day, or set of days, sorry. I was absolutely exhausted when I got home. 9.5 hour flight one way, and then a layover in LAX going back for 4 or 5 hours. Yeah, it was a slog of travel, but it was all worth it. I would gladly and happily do it again. You're small in comparison to Quakeham's big dude. He is huge. So I'm pretty average sized. I'm short in stature, but I'm pretty chunky around the middle. So I'm 5'6", and I'm a fairly chunky guy. But Brian is just an absolute monster. If you watch his last Kepler build, you see his hands next to a TKL, and his hands look bigger next to a TKL than mine do next to a 60%. It's just absolutely obscene. He is one huge guy, but he's absolutely lovely with it, and he's a very, very nice guy to boot. So okay, just coming back along this row, then we'll do the spacebar row, the bottom row, and then we'll get some keycaps on this. Okay. So now just doing right shift and function key. Okay. And then we'll come back along the bottom row. We've done that switch. Okay. So the spacebar, just a few switches left to go now, guys. There we go. That should now all be fully soldered together. So I'm going to disconnect that. Okay, move that out of the way as well. Okay, I'm just going to steal a cable from underneath Gator Run, and then we'll grab up a switch hitter and we'll just test this all first and foremost, make sure it all works. Now I know it did before I went to Seattle, so hopefully it's travelled just fine. Okay, so I've got a switch hitter up. Let me make that visible for you guys. There you go. So let's test this and see what's working. So skate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. Now split backspace might be a little bit different on this one. Yeah, so the keys work. So that's the main thing. We can program it later. We're just testing that everything works as it should do first and foremost. Caps lock is working just fine. G does work. I just missed the press. Okay, so all working there. Shift this one. The key works. So you can see that the key works. It's just programmed incorrectly. So we can fix that later on. Okay, yeah, that just needs reprogramming. So everything that's got a key is working. It's flashing up something. So we can then reprogram it. So that's all we need to know, that the keys are working for now. Okay, plug that back into the Ocelot. There we go. Pop Gator Run back as well. How cute is he, by the way, guys? Look at this guy. Look at this guy. Let me get rid of switches. There we go. He's a real cutie. Ron on his hat. Yeah, he's cute. Okay, so there we go. So we know that the PCB all works. All of the switches are actuating correctly, and everything is good from that perspective. I can now move the solder out of the way. Okay. Next step is we're just going to remove this foam from the packaging, and as I say, this is from MK Ultras. Thank you very much for sending me this, Duke. I'm excited to see what this sounds like. I did play around with some of your boards at the meetup, listening to what the boards sounded like with and without foam. So there we go. Now we're going to lay this inside the case and see if we can get it to fit around the mounting points. It should be okay to just smooth around them. I'd rather not cut the case if I can help it. There we go. It's all looking good there. There we go. That all looks good. That's nice and firmly in place. Just going to try and edge it over a little bit. There we go. As you can see, guys, it fully fits. It is designed, I'm not sure what that is on screen. There we go. It is designed also to have the reset button. This particular case does not support that. But as you can see, that foam fits really nicely in there. In boards that don't have these little metal nubbins, it will fit a lot flusher and a lot easier, but that all looks good from that perspective. Then we're just going to align the PCB and plate in there. Take our screws and screwdriver, and then we're just going to quickly pin this together. So I'm just going to start with the central one. I'm not going too tight, just tight enough to hold it in place. Again, as soon as you start to feel resistance, it's time to stop tightening. You don't want to screw these down and try and pin the PCB against the case too tightly. You can lead to problems with the PCB if you do that. So just finger tight, basically. As soon as you feel that resistance, it's time to stop pushing it. Okay. Okay, all good there. Two more, just to screw in one at each side. And then the last one at this side. Okay. I need to get some of that foam to try. I usually cook my own foam. Yeah, well, if MK Ultra's back in chat, I'm happy for him to post his link. That's not a problem at all. Not sure if I can. Yeah, of course you can link the website. Yeah, it's fine. Happy for you to drop the link in. Talk about Defcon there. There we go. Okay, so just before we put some keycaps on this, I am going to pop the feet on the board as well. Just going to take these and fit them nicely into place. As I say, this board does need a little bit of a clean. It has been in my suitcase for an ungodly number of hours, so I will give it a clean down before we actually use it properly. It's probably going to go to work with me tomorrow, I would suspect. Okay, so that's the board all ready. Next thing to do is just grab some keycaps. I did have a keycap on it there. Okay, so as I said, we are going to use minimal. I'm just going to take the keys that I need from here and put them onto the board. Any keys that are missing we'll grab from the case later on. Got the full pack of keycaps just at the side of me as well, so if there is anything that I do need that I don't have, I can quite quickly grab that. I think I'll need the escape key and the ISO enter and the spacebar. I think probably some modifiers as well when we get down to the bottom row. Soren is here as well, saying hello. Hi Soren, good to see you. Long time since you've spoken, Soren. I hope you're doing well. I hope you've still got that macro pad that you won off my channel probably a year ago now. Short shift because it's ISO layout. Okay, 10 strong. If I tell you my foam stroke of genius, chance at some free foams. Free foam needs free keyboards. That's fair. That's fair. Okay, we need that for split backspace as well, so pop that up there. We will need a one new key, so that should be there. That's everything we need for that side of the VEA. Pop that over here. Okay. Now we'll just finish off putting the keycaps on for this side. As I said before, we are going to need some keycaps out of the actual set itself, because we're going to need the escape, the ISO enter, and some space bars. I don't have the right key. I'm going to put the insert key up here. In fact, no, I'm not. I'll just get the actual one new delete key out of there in a few minutes. Okay. Making good progress now, guys. Some just dirt on the M key. There we go. Okay. We'll need the FN key as well. Again, we'll need that one new key just there, and that's everything we need from that side as well. So I do have the rest of the key set in the GMK tray here. I'm just going to slide that out and then work out which keys we need. Okay. So we do need the one new delete key for up here. we do need the ISO enter key or return key, as this one's labelled. All looking good there. We also need our modifiers for the bottom row. As I said before, this is Sangan bottom row. That's all looking good there. Need the escape key just on top, and then we need the 7U spacebar as well. I think that's the right one. I got the right spacebar. There we go. Okay guys, so there we go. That is some dirt there. This is the Klippe with GMK minimal, that lovely white and the crisp white next to the crisp blue colours. Really sets that off nicely. I think you'll agree. There we go. All you can see across the back here. There is some dirt on the board just here. I just need to clean that off. It's something that's got on there from the suitcase. In fact, let's grab a cleaning wipe and do just that now. Let's get it looking spick and span. Again, these are just Dettol wipes, so they'll just pull any dirt off. All looking good. If I was to do any infill, I would probably infill that white. One of the things that I would have to do is I'd have to tape something plastic just along this edge to get a nice raised infill part on there, just because of the way that the cutout is set. So as you can see there, that's indented, but it's flush with the bottom, so we need to come up with a way to fix that. So I'd probably have to have a plastic piece taped onto here, and then that would give me the right edge on here on this side to raise the infill up, and then I just have to be very careful peeling that away. So maybe we'll do that at some point. I think it could look quite nice on this particular board. Give it a nice clean around the edges. And there we go. All looking rather nice. There we go. Let's catch up with chat, see what you guys are talking about. Huey says, hey Joe, got your message about 61 from Mech Market this morning. Where can I get a hold of you? If you join the Top Clack Discord, dude, you can message me there, or you can also message me on Discord directly. You should be able to just hit me up. My username is jpipe Top Clack. Pipe is in the line indicator rather than the word, and then it's a #0001. Okay guys, so this is the board. I think this looks really, really good with the with minimal on there. I think that looks really good. It just sets the board off nicely. I don't know what you guys think, but I think it looks really good. I'm really happy with how that's come out. Looks great. So listen to the switches. I'm just going to pause the music, take my headphones off, and let's listen to what the board sounds like. It's very, very, very clacky. Let me just take these off properly. The switches feel great, to be honest. I'm pleasantly surprised by how the switches feel. So they're quite snappy, quite good at returning. They do feel good. Spacebar isn't clicking, but it is returning. So spacebar's working, but the click's not there. So I don't think that's a stabilised anymore. I think it might just need a stronger spring in the switch, perhaps, or maybe it is still the stabilisers in the PCB. I'll try and work on that later on separately. But it's definitely returning just fine. It's just not quite getting the click. So we'll have a look at that later on. To be honest, I think that's, for a clicky board, that's pretty nice. They're highly tactile, but it's kind of like a rounded tactility. It feels kind of like a Zelio V1 in terms of the bump, which is just where the click's happening. So yeah, I'm pretty impressed with that. I think it sounds great. Yeah. This is bot top pack. It's top click. Yeah, top click. I think this is great. I don't often build clicky boards, but I'm really impressed with how this sounds. I think this sounds great. That's really, really, really nice. Yeah, I really like that. Mechanistic Leandrin is here. Leandrin, I did post your key set off today, so you should have a post about that. So thank you very much for purchasing that. Huey says good stuff. He's going to reach out to me. I think someone's pinged me, so that's cool. I'll be available after the stream. They sound crisp. They are really, really, really crisp. Yes. It's difficult to explain how good they sound, but let's see if I can find an MX Blue in the switch jar. So that's a switch jar. Let me get my switch opener and let me see if I can show you guys how the difference between the two work. Okay, let's see if we've got an MX Blue in here. We must have an MX Blue somewhere in here. We must have an MX Blue. Well, that's a clicky that does have a click jacket, so we can have a look at that if we can't find an MX Blue. But I'm pretty sure there must be one in here somewhere. There's so many different switches. I'll be shocked if I don't have an MX Blue in here somewhere. Now we've got a box navy, but you can hear the difference. So it's much more muted than a box navy click. How can I not have an MX Blue switch? How can I not have an MX Blue switch? Is that an MX Blue? No, it's grey. Okay, so it appears that I don't have an MX Blue to show you. Of all these switches, I would have thought... Oh, what's this? What's this? No, that's T1. Yeah, it doesn't look like we've got any. Couple of Hirose switches. Yeah, no MX Blue. Sorry guys, I can't show you an MX Blue, but I can show you a blue ink switch, which works broadly the same as an MX Blue. So this is a blue ink. Okay, and this is a click jacket. So as you can see on the stem you have, let me try and zoom in a little bit for you, show you guys up close. So on the stem you have an additional, so you effectively, instead of having a full stem, you've got it broken into two pieces, and this clicks as you move the stem up and down. So the fact that you're forcing it past the tactile actuation piece will eventually give it a click against the housing, and as you press it up and down, those two click together. So as you can see, it goes around the outside of the pin, so the central stem, it goes around the outside. HB Heron Bob with a sub, thank you very much. Oh, from Talisman Solutions gift, thank you. That's a nice candy bowl. Yeah, one day I'm going to build a board and I'm just going to pick a switch at random and the whole board's going to be different switches. That's kind of the aim for that package. So as you can see, that's how it works, and there's kind of like slider rails where it holds in place and stuff like that. So that's very, very similar to how an MX Blue works. And as you can see, so I'll try and show you this. So as you can see, as you push down, you see that the white part remains. I'll try and get this super close up for you. The white part stays still as you compress the switch until you get to a certain point, and then it... There you go. I'm hoping that's close enough for it to show you how that clicking's working. So that's how an MX Blue works as well. And another gift as well to MK Ultra Corp, 171 gifts of Talisman. Thank you, dude. I really appreciate that. Really appreciate that. Yeah, Frankenstein board would be great. Yeah, we are going to do it. Now let's show you how the stems differ inside these. Now I haven't taken one of these apart before yet, but I have looked through the housing. So the first thing I want to show you here is that you can see when it closes up that the slider is actually inside, not on the outside. I hope that's nice and clear for you. So although the click works in kind of the same way as the two pieces are hitting each other and tapping against each other, the slider is inside the stem rather than around the outside. So this is technically a much more secure, more robust over time experience than what an MX Blue would be. Stalking Wolf, new here. Do you do completely custom builds, i.e. custom PCB layout, etc.? Yeah, I build a board every week on Sunday evenings. So the Stalking Wolf, everything it's different a board every week. So different cases, different PCBs, different boards, and very different builds. To be honest with you, depending on what I'm doing. Usually they're all my boards. Most 90% of the boards I build on the show are personal boards. As you can see behind me, there's quite a collection. There's some gaps in the shelves at the minute where I haven't still unfinished packing from a local meetup recently. But yeah, I do occasionally do customer builds, but it's few and far between. Most of them are just my own. This board was kindly donated by Mechanistic Leandrin, who is in chat today. So thank you very much for that. Most of the boards I do have I build directly. I bought with my own hard-earned money. This one was kindly gifted by Leandrin, so thank you very much for that. It was very, very nice of you to do so. And the switches were provided by HB Harry and Bob. These are Aristotle clone switches, which are called Phoenix switches, which, to be honest, are pretty damn good. They feel good. They sound really, really nice. That one's not clicking just there. Could be a switch problem. Everything else is. So there we go. Spacebar is actuating them quite nicely, but it's not quite clicking. So yeah, but I'll work on that afterwards. So the toes fangs are going to be removed. Oh right, okay, nice. I've put it back together now. But when we looked at it, you could see they had like toes or fangs or whatever you want to call them. But they will be replaced. Can you switch to the delete and the other key around? Yeah, of course I can. Sorry, it's just the way I put them on. Moany fussy people. There you go, Ryan. I hope that's better for you. There you go. Are the switches available anywhere? I kind of want to pick some up and try them out. I hope they are, because these are prototype switches, so I know these are going to be very different compared to the actual release switches, but I really like these. These are... The click is bringing me some good joy at the minute. Comparison of the Blue Star switch, which is a Gateron Blue ink, to the new Aristotle. So it's more of a thunk click than a high-pitched click. This is much of a deeper, clicky sound than the MX style, which is a bit higher pitched. I suspect that's because it's inside the stem, so it reduces reverberation, and the housings are probably slightly different as well. Whereas around the outside, it's got more room to manoeuvre. When the click jacket's on the outside, it's got more room to manoeuvre and more room for flexibility, so it probably leads to a higher pitched sound, whereas it's more compressed in the Aristotle clone switch, the Phoenix switch, and therefore it sounds a little bit deeper. In fact, actually, you can see, if I can get this to focus, you can actually see the click happen on the actuation there. So it's a little bit might be easier to see. There you go. So yeah, really impressed with these. Really like the board. I think the use of GMK minimal with the blue of the Klippe really works nicely together. I'm really, really happy with that. May or may not infill this later on, but yeah, really like the blue. Think it looks great. Going to take this to work with me tomorrow and try it out. Thanks. There you go. Glad you're happy with that, Ryan. Tear to my eye, thank you. You're welcome. Thank you very much for showing the switches, Bob. I really appreciate it. On a nicer board with split backspace, where does the backspace key go? So usually what I would do is I would change delete, and I would actually use that as backspace because I'm used to a 2U backspace anyway. The other way I've done it as well before in the past, I've had one as delete and one as backspace, and then I've had the grave stuff on shift escape. That's the other way I've done it as well. But yeah, great build. Really enjoy it. The other thing actually on hard mode, which I've done on the Equinox, which is a 40%, which effectively has, it doesn't have this top right, it has this here. I'll show you in fact, guys. So on this board, I actually have this enter key here. That is delete or backspace. It's backspace, and then to enter it's hold. So you have to hold it for a 2 count to get enter to work, which is what I call ISO hard mode, but it's really fun. Next to the spacebar, yeah, a lot of people do put it down on the right hand side keys here, so a lot of people do put backspace down here, but yeah. Solid sound to that too. Yes, the board sounds great. Or if you meant the Equinox, yeah, the Equinox is a great little build. It's a really fun little board to use as well. Okay guys, so that's it. We've been streaming for an hour and 40 minutes. That's the build pretty much done. I'm going to program this PCB off air and get it working, ready for work tomorrow. As I say, I think the spacebar, the stab's about as best as it's going to happen. It is returning, it is actuating just fine, it's going to work just fine, but it is removing the click, so I'll see if I can do that. The H key has kind of lost its click. It feels like it's over lubed, that switch, because these switches do have some lube in the base around the spring that you can probably just see here. I think that particular one is just over lubed because it is actuating past. You can feel it go past the click mechanism, but it's just not actuating. So I'll probably just switch that switch out as well. But W key as well, so a couple of them just there, just need slightly tweaking, but that's it guys. So that's the stream over and done with. I'll fix those off stream. I'll get some pictures of this up on Instagram in the next couple of days. I think you can agree though that this board looks absolutely fantastic. If you are interested in a Klippe, then please do go check out Leandrin's site. They are on sale up until the end of this stream. I think he's going to turn it off in a couple of hours maybe, not too much longer to go, but this is quite possibly one of my favourite 60% boards. I really enjoy the click. That's really nice. Thanks for the build stream. No problems, Talisman. Glad to see you on stream again. Yeah, I only lube the spring to remove the spring. I just wonder if in transit, because I've been in a flight as well, I'm just wondering if the lube's just got up the stem slightly, because you can feel it actuating. You can feel it go past the click. You can feel the part where the insert drops. You can feel that happening, but it's just not clicking. So I just wonder if the lube's just got a little bit high in transit in there. So I'll just switch those two out. It's just the 2 keys, but dead easy to change over. So I'll just do that off stream, and I'll see if I can fix the spacebar as well. But it's going to actuate just fine. It is returning completely. It's just again not clicking. I think it's yeah, I don't think it's a switch. So I think it's just the way that particular one is. The challenge we had with the PCB earlier on not being quite aligned correctly. This is why you don't buy cheap PCBs, guys. The $30 jobs aren't always the best thing to buy, but yeah, you get what you give. So yeah, so go check out Mechanist.co, go check out MK Ultra, go hit up Heron Pub if you want some of these switches. I'm probably going to get some more of him at some point in the near future as well. So thank you very much, guys. I'm going to call it there. I'll speak to you all later. If anyone does want to reach out to me on the Discord, feel free to. I have got some things for sale, so feel free to go check that out as well. Right, I'll see you later, guys. Thank you very much for the stream. Thank you very much for watching the stream, sorry, and I'll see you on the show on Thursday. See you guys.